They thought I'd never notice. My own mother and sister forged my signature to steal nearly $1 million from my grandfather's inheritance. But what they didn't know was that I had been secretly marking my real signatures for years. And that tiny detail, it caused them everything. If you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and stay until the end. Because this story isn't just about revenge, it's about justice, served in the most satisfying way imaginable. I remember the day everything changed. I was sitting at my desk, sipping coffee, scrolling through emails when a notification popped up, a bank alert. At first, I thought it was routine, but then my stomach dropped. There was a withdrawal I hadn't authorized, a massive one, $940,000 gone. I froze. My mind raced. No way. Not from me. It took less than a minute for the horrifying truth to hit me. My own mother and sister had taken that money that was part of my grandfather's inheritance. Money that should have been mine legally and morally. And they didn't even bother to hide it well. They had forged my signature, thinking they were being clever, thinking I'd never notice. At that moment, everything inside me split into two forces: rage and disbelief. I could feel it physically. My chest tightened, my hands shook, and my mind spun 1,000 directions at once. How could they betray me like this? My own family, my blood, people I trusted implicitly. I didn't scream. I didn't confront them immediately, because I knew something they didn't. For years, I had been secretly marking my signatures in a way only I could recognize. Little idiosyncrasies, tiny loops, invisible marks, things that were invisible to anyone else but would scream out the truth in a forensic examination. That small habit, seemingly insignificant, had suddenly become my secret weapon. I spent the next few days in a haze of investigation. I quietly checked the transactions, compared the forged signatures against my own hidden patterns, and documented every discrepancy. I had to be meticulous. One wrong move, and they could deny it. One slip, and they could destroy the evidence. And they were bold, too bold. My mother and sister had been living with this sense of invincibility, assuming their familial bond gave them immunity. They texted each other about the smart move they'd made, laughing over brunches and group chats, mocking the idea that anyone would ever suspect them. That arrogance, it would be their undoing. I started imagining my confrontation. I pictured my mother's eyes widening in disbelief, my sister's smug grin fading into panic. But I didn't rush it. Revenge isn't about emotion, it's about timing, precision, and psychology. I had to make them think they were untouchable until the moment of impact. Meanwhile, I quietly contacted a forensic handwriting expert. I didn't want my assumptions, they had to be backed by undeniable proof. The expert analyzed the signatures and confirmed what I already knew. The differences were intentional, subtle, and unmistakable to anyone trained in signature analysis. Every loop, every tilt, every dot had been manipulated. The forgery wasn't just sloppy, it was criminal. I felt a strange satisfaction. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about justice, about making them face the consequences of betraying the one person they should have trusted most. Now came the tricky part: letting them reveal their arrogance fully. I didn't confront them. I didn't even hint that I knew. I watched. I let them make phone calls, transfer funds, and brag among friends about how clever they were. The more they flaunted their crime, the easier it would be to prove in court. And then, the turning point. I arranged a family dinner under the guise of reconciliation. My mother and sister showed up smiling, unaware that the calm they saw in me was anything but innocent. I let the conversation flow naturally, nodding, laughing, appearing oblivious. But inside, my mind was mapping every reaction, every slight hesitation, every micro-expression. Finally, I brought it up casually, almost offhand. "You know," I said, "I've been reviewing Grandpa's will, just for my own understanding, and I noticed something strange about some of the documents that went through the bank recently." Their eyes flickered slightly, imperceptibly but enough. "I'm curious," I continued softly, "how they managed to get such large withdrawals without my signature really matching up." I didn't even finish a sentence before panic set in. My mother started fidgeting with her napkin. My sister's smile froze. That tiny, almost imperceptible crack was all I needed. A week later, Armed with the forensic report, I filed a formal complaint. I knew that the law would take its course now. But the most satisfying part wasn't legal, it was psychological. Watching them realize that the very thing they thought was undetectable, the signature they had underestimated me. When the authorities arrived to investigate, the reactions were priceless. My mother tried to play it off, claiming a misunderstanding, while my sister attempted excuses, even blaming bank errors. But the handwriting analysis was irrefutable. Every mark I had secretly coded over the years screamed the truth. They weren't just caught, they were exposed. I remember the day I sat in the courtroom, watching them struggle. Their arrogance had turned into fear. Every glance they gave me was a mixture of shame, disbelief, and desperate calculation. How had I known? How had I seen through their plan? And they had no answer, no defense, no escape. I gained control over the inheritance legally. Every penny they had attempted to steal was secured. But it wasn't the money that felt like victory. It was the clarity, the precision, the poetic justice of seeing them undone by their own arrogance, by a flaw they could never have predicted. My years of careful observation and subtle preparation. The experience left me shaken, yes, but also empowered. Betrayal cuts deep, especially from family. But revenge, calculated, thoughtful, perfectly timed, heals in a different way. I learned that trust is precious, but preparation is power. That sometimes the smallest, most overlooked habits become your greatest shield. The day the felony charges were officially filed was surreal. My mother and sister, the two people who had thought themselves untouchable, were now facing serious consequences. Watching them sit across from me in that courtroom, struggling to maintain composure, I finally felt the weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't gloating that I felt, it was vindication. Every sleepless night, every anxious moment, had led to this. Justice hadn't just been served. It had been crafted meticulously, elegantly, like a chess game where I had anticipated every move. I didn't celebrate loudly. I didn't rub it in. I simply felt an inner peace. The betrayal had been repaid not with rash anger, but with strategy, foresight, and undeniable truth. And in that, I found a liberation far richer than money itself. Betrayal is a pain everyone fears, but it teaches an invaluable lesson. Vigilance and intelligence can turn the tables. Sometimes the tiniest, most overlooked details, like a subtle mark in a signature, become the key to justice. And sometimes patience is the most powerful form of revenge. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? Comment below, and let's talk about the moments when justice isn't just served, it's perfectly orchestrated. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories where betrayal meets its match.